Yeah. I stole that from Joe Budden. I will admit it. I stole that from Joe Budden.
Gonna
What's
pump it
going on,
up.
people? Yes, sir. Pause on pump it up. Not just playing. What's going on, peeps? It's your boy, old man Logan. It's KG. We doing our best. Jay Uso and Sami Zayn in rendition. We doing our best Y2J and KO rendition. We doing our best Stone Cold and HBK, or Stone Cold and Rock, or Rock and Mick Foley, or just any singles competitor that was popular and they made them a hot team for a second. Yeah, we doing that tonight so
Stone
far.
Cold and HBK was wild. That one episode on Raw when you could tell they was lit on that segment, and they were like at the bar. Go back and watch it if y'all never seen that before. It's hilarious.
Definitely, definitely. All right, man. Let me go ahead and get the intros out. Here we go. KG, 1 second. Talk to the people.
It's the ginger whiskey assassin, the other KG. Hashtag, y'all gotta chill.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just say congrats to Stephanie McClure for getting called up to Monday Night Raw. Also, I'm just glad this means Booker T will no longer have to have a heart attack borderline on commentary.
Oh man, oh man. Okay, okay. Let me go ahead and do myself. Let me do myself.
It's Big Oos, old man Logan, acknowledge him.
All right, all right. It is I, he is I, and I am him. I'm old man Logan, also TC, and you can't spell travel chief without TC. See what I did there? Ah. Okay, and shout out to She Talk. She Talks hit us up on the messages, comments. Say we hecka early. Yes, She Talks. We are hecky early because our brothers ain't on here with us, and me and KG, man, we just trying to relax. Okay, we be ready to go early, but we have to wait on the brothers to do the show when we do it later. So yeah, we getting this done tonight. Okay, so this episode, this is season 10, episode 38. We are going to discuss, we're going to do a weekly recap here for y'all. We're going to do Money in the Bank picks, and we're also going to talk about Worlds Collide. Me and KG was just talking about that before we hit the record button. We're like, yo, I don't know all of these AAA people. He don't know them. I don't know them like that neither. But we still going to discuss it because it is an event taking place this weekend. We know y'all as wrestling fans are going to watch that because y'all love wrestling just like we do. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into this weekly recap. Hold on 1 sec, KG.
And now, your week in review.
Let me just start off by saying I'm pretty excited the fact that at least on the women's side of Money in the Bank, we got Triple H just hot shotting, the women of NXT, the former women of NXT, straight into that match with Julia, Roxanne Perez, and Stephanie Ventura all being in the Money in the Bank women's ladder match. So I'm excited about that for sure because it's something new. Obviously, the men, it's mostly veteran laden. Only new blood we really have in there is Penta, obviously, and as well as Solo, even though he's gotten pushed before, it's still one of those things where, yeah, if someone else is technically new, we know it's Chad Gable, but I guess we're supposed to call him a Grande Americana. Mr. Starbucks, as they say. I'm a little confused as to why both of the world championships on the men's side are in a tag match, and neither women's championship is being defended. So that's a little weird. I understand it's Money in the Bank, but I don't see how both of the women are left off the card, the women's champions, and then so I guess that's the one silver lining is that we're getting the men in a tag match. I don't know. It's a little strange that booking for me, but it's not a here nor there. We'll get into those predictions later. As far as I guess that's the selling point. It is all about Money in the Bank for the most part, outside of Lyra Valkyria defending her title. And I thought that was kind of super disrespectful. The fans giving her the what treat. I'm like, this girl been getting so much better on the mic lately. And I just thought that was a little disrespectful with the whole what thing. It's getting played out, the what's. I, do it to troll people, I suppose. Um, sad moment, our truth getting released. It was a national treasure. Came out of nowhere too, in terms of the placement they had him on TV constantly too. That's one of those things where it's like no controversy that we know of has come out, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't expect anything to come out. Even if his contract was expiring or whatever have you, it's one of those things you just let them, uh, you know, go through emotions at least and let it finish out. And especially, like I say, he's in such a prominent role on television lately. It's a little puzzling at the timing of it. But I'm sure it's going to be missed. I know there was some rewind truth chants on Raw on Monday as I got a chance to watch that back. So it's cool that the fans acknowledge that moment happening. Although the timing and everything, once again, it's like chanting that during the match. Yeah, maybe not the best timing.
Right.
They definitely those chants definitely happened during the Raquel and Kyrie Zane match as well as a couple of other matches I think that happened too. Cool to see the little nod they did to each other. Punk and AJ in the ring for the first time in I don't know how long, probably since what TNA, since they crossed
Yeah.
paths, or Ring of Honor possibly, because I know Punk had his little cup of coffee in TNA. When he was doing that angle with Raven, but I don't know if he ever crossed paths with AJ at the time, because different points of their career type thing. Where I think Punk was more so in the mid card. I think AJ was kind of in that X division slash upper mid card at the time. So that was cool to see that. So hopefully maybe we'll get some more of that down the line between the two of them. I thought that was kind of funny backstage one with AJ. How he's got to be professional. Paul Heyman, their history goes. Especially with the Good
Mm-hmm.
Brothers. So that was kind of funny that he ended up going to Raw as opposed to staying on SmackDown, especially since he made his name on SmackDown. Guys don't have to be exclusive to one brand, obviously, for their duration of their careers. With some dudes, that's what comes synonymous with a show. Like, I feel like Seth Rollins becomes synonymous with Monday Night Raw. Not just because he says Monday Night Rollins, it's just he's had a so much of his success has been on Raw, basically, in a sense. So that's not
Yeah.
surprising. Switching topics real quick to AEW, I thought that was pretty funny. He had Will Ospreay trying to play peacemaker between Swerve and Hangman, saying that, yeah, he's the one to do this. But it's just like when Swerve pointed out, back in my mind, I'm thinking, why is Hangman necessarily the one to do this? Because like he said, Swerve had Mox beat. So who's to say it don't happen again? Somebody interferes, out of the blue, where it's one of those things. Although I do think at All In, Heyman is the one that dethrones him. Like I said, I was mistaken during our last pod because I had Osprey going over Heyman. I just felt
Mm-hmm.
whoever was coming to come out of that match should have thrown Moxley, because at this point it's just I'm still very much so confused with this whole Death Rider versus AEW angle. Where, like I said, you're not even seeing the World Championship in 7, 8 months. It's just been locked away in the briefcase. So I think there's a storylines run its course personally. And congrats to Mariah May. I did hear rumors she was supposed to sign with WWE and debuted on NXT last night. So I, everybody wants to compare and contrast already. I said some of these wrestlers, let them be standalones. You don't got to compare them to personality wise just because they're both blonde. And everybody, that's it. That's just lazy and tired out at this point. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Especially because she showed her personality is not necessarily something we've seen in a while, at least in WWE. The vindictive person that lures them in, and it basically, in a sense, it's almost kind of what I called for. Except for there was no briefcase. She won the Owen Hart women's tournament last year, and that's when Mariah turned heel. Because, like I said, we'd never seen anything like that in WWE in a while, where someone, not that someone doesn't turn on a friend, but they win a tournament or a guaranteed contract, should I say, to face the world champion, and then they turn on an actual friend. So it's one of
Right.
those things where we did see that last year, at least, with between Mariah May and Tony Storm. So um, definitely looking forward to Mercedes Monet and Tony Storm as well. Like I said, maybe it took us a while, at least me, it took me a while for the Mercedes Monet character to win me over. I mean, more so, I just thought she looked a little rusty at times. But I mean, like I said, her matches, like I said, the Statlander matches, the Billy Starks match, Jamie Hayter match. I mean, you can find a
Mm-hmm.
couple. I think people were a little bit disappointed because her and Sheeta didn't have that great of a match at all out last year, and Sheeta's probably one of their top tier wrestlers for sure. But it's just one of those things where it just took time, gotta get your feet wet and get back accustomed to it. Like, sometimes you go with different promotions, even the American style, quote unquote, is different.
Yeah.
One of the all time greats. as a lucha libre guy, at least Mystico, he came over there and look how much he botched. Now he's back to being a star again. So it's just one of those
Right.
things where sometimes it's just an adjustment period, and all wrestlers go through it. Interesting. I saw too. I mean, about a week or two late about this, but Mike Santana getting pushed. That was his biggest push he's ever gotten recently. At least I remember he was in. Uh, him and Ortiz were affiliated with Jericho and AEW for a while, and then they kind of split them
Proud and
up, and then
powerful. Yeah.
yeah, so AKA LAX. So that was cool to see as
Yes,
well.
sir. Yes, sir. Shout out to Hernandez. That was my guy in TNA.
But I think that's all the points I wanted to hit. That I could think of at the top of my head because there's no, they teased Damian Priest and Jacob Fatu, which that could be a hell of if they give them the right type of time to actually tell that story. So I don't know if I want to see that at a premium live event or at on SmackDown because like we said before, the SmackDown tag titles right after WrestleMania 31. It was perfect setup and placement for that match. But I don't think they'll do that to them because the last time the Fatal Four Way actually at Backlash was arguably the match of the night between that and then Live of Arcadia versus Becky Lynch. Between those two would be for me which was the best match of the night, and they had enough time in that Fatal Four Way. So
Okay. Okay. All right. So I got a couple of things I want to respond to from what you said in the weekly recap. First things first. Congrats to Mariah May. I didn't know about her possibly
yeah,
jumping ship, so
I
that
just saw it myself.
completely,
Yeah.
yeah, that completely caught me off guard. And the response from the fans, not just AEW fans too, just from wrestling fans, period, from the feud in the match she had with Tony Storm, for the
Hmm.
women's AEW championship. I'm very shocked that she decided to jump ship. I don't know what took place, or if she just felt like, hey, this is my shot, this is my chance to go to WWE, because I think that's the one thing everybody forgets. Like, WWE is still the top of the mountain in wrestling for a lot of people. A lot of wrestlers, they might say, hey, what they say, they show brand loyalty. You got Will Ospreay showing brand loyalty to AEW, and saying, oh, this is the place where wrestlers wrestle, or whatever he said. However he said the phrase. Ricochet had a similar sentiment upon his arrival there. And just seeing her, I'm like, I would think Tony Khan would have done everything possible that he could have, throw some dollars, give some creative freedom, or, just whatever Mariah may have wanted to try to retain and keep her there. Obviously, that didn't take place, but hey, so we'll see what she does in the land of WWE. She's in NXT right now. I don't think they're gonna hot shot put the title on her. I think it'll be a nice little story that they let cook. We'll see. Um, in regards to what you said about a lot of the ladies from NXT starting to pop up and be a part of you know, big matches on like Raw and SmackDown. Stephanie Vacure and Julia and Roxanne's up there now on Raw. I think a Mariah May arriving is just like right on time, because I do think those women were never meant to stay down at NXT and have like a long, lengthy title run down there or a long time down there, period. I think it was really all right, we're gonna use them down here on the NXT brand, because I don't necessarily look at NXT as a developmental brand anymore. I look at it as WWE's third brand now. There's Raw, there's SmackDown, and now there's NXT. What they wanted ECW to be, boom, this is what NXT has become. I think the development brand now has shifted over to the Evolve Wrestling show. So I think that's where the developmental talent will live. And when they're ready, they'll go over to NXT to do the, more so get them acclimated for main roster stuff. And then from there, we'll see them either land on Raw or SmackDown going forward. Um, to touch on the CM Punk AJ Styles thing, I Googled it while you were giving the weekly recap. And according to Google, it says CM Punk and AJ never faced each other in TNA wrestling. It said they did, however, have a match in the International Wrestling Cartel March 20th of 2004. So Monday was the first time they had a match since March 20th, 2004. So that was over, yeah, it was 21 years ago. We saw those guys in the ring together. So there's that. Um, the Truth, aka Ron Killing's release. We also heard about Mike Mazzani, aka The Miz. I hope I said his name right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, potentially being released as well. I saw something just a second ago, maybe an hour or two before we got to recording this show, that Karrion Kross contract is set to expire soon, and WWE apparently, according to these rumors, haven't approached him about re-signing him as well. So you had that. I can't remember her name from her husband's one of the Viking Raiders.
Oh, they renamed her. What did they rename her? They renamed her a couple times.
Yeah,
It started with a V.
yeah, that's why I can't remember it.
Yeah, they renamed her, but yeah, I can't remember it either.
But
Valhalla,
yeah, Valhalla, right?
Valhalla or something. Yeah.
Yeah, he got released as well, and she put up a heartfelt message and said she was just kind of going to hang up the wrestling boots and just focus on raising their children from here on out. So also, all of this is, I don't necessarily want to say it's speculative, because all of these performers went on their social media respectively and either unfollowed WWE, removed WWE tags, or left a heartfelt message to say thank you to the fans. WWE has yet to, as far as I know, from looking on their websites, looking at their social medias, they have yet to address these releases. So I'm not 100% sure. I was definitely shocked by the Truth release, because our Truth, to me at least, I can't speak for everybody, but to me, our Truth was kind of like the unofficial mascot for WWE. I don't know if that's like a. I don't intend it to be a dig. I don't intend it to be a diss or anything like that. But I've just, when you think of WWE comedic relief, the guy's timing was amazing. Hell, I was hoping we were getting ready to see a whole Ron Cena run just based off what he just did this quickly, with Cena for Saturday Night Main Event. Even though it was a super duper quick match, it was only 4 minutes. But I saw someone, shout out to Devin the Tribal Chief. I saw on his post, he put, man, he thought, okay, well, man, all right, this is possibly why he was even on Saturday night with John Cena, because that was kind of like his farewell. So
I could definitely see that.
I didn't think of it. I didn't think of it that way at first. I literally thought, okay, we're getting ready to see a new persona here. You know what I'm saying? Ron Cena. I wanted a Ron Cena shirt. I was here for it. You know what I'm saying?
But the funny thing is, that's his last memorable though, because he still wrestled on SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
So against JC Mateo. But my thing is, to piggyback off what you were saying, I don't think it would be a slight to say that. More along the lines of, people could also say like the lovable uncle type thing, where and then he's been around for so long, it's just a little weird the way they went about it type thing.
Yeah.
Like we said, we don't know, things happen spur of the moment all the time, but it wasn't one of those things where, to me, it's like, how you see in sports, okay, when this person's deal is up, if we don't release them by a certain time, we take that cap hit or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit different because they're all independent contractors. Yeah, they're still guaranteed money and all that stuff like that. But this thought it was a little weird, that the timing of it, considered the fact he just faced a WWE champion. It doesn't matter if it was a squash match or a comedy spot. The point is, it was on a televised event type thing, where it wasn't, like I said, we're self-explanatory. It's a televised event. This isn't a
Yeah.
live, wasn't some live show in some small city in some small state type thing.
Right. This was a heavily promoted, live event. Like, it
Right,
isn't what we say, pay-per-view with Jace. Like, it doesn't necessarily have the
right,
ramifications of a pay-per-view,
right,
but
right.
it's basically like a pay-per-view in a sense.
But any time it was on broadcast TV, like I said, it wasn't like it was in Champaign, Illinois. So not to crap on Champaign, Illinois. But I
Right,
mean, it was
right.
then, like, or somewhere in Iowa, somewhere where it's like one of the big, no matter if it was a big market. Point is, it's on television on the national network too at that. So one like
Right,
on Spike
right.
TV or some obscure channel where you had to find if you only certain amount of people like Direct TV or something, only certain amount of people had it. Yeah, it's like I said, the time is just a little off, but West best wishes of truth for sure. I'm sure you're not gonna have a problem landing another gig somewhere, whether it be as a producer. That's another thing. I mean, I just said he was released from his wrestling contract. Who's to say they won't keep him around as a producer or something like that? Um, you would think they wouldn't just flat out release them, but in that case, though, you probably got to restructure that contract because I'm sure as a producer, there, unless you're a top tier producer at that, like I'm pretty sure those contracts have to be restructured if you're going to transition. Some people transition because of untimely, should I say, injuries, like Jason Jordan. So I don't know how that
Hmm.
went, where it's like, okay, they made an exception because they knew his mind for the business type thing, and there's a tragic situation. Same with Tyson Kidd. Um,
Right, right. And those were honorable examples
yeah,
and exemptions, but are good examples of what you're saying as far as transitioning. They probably, they signed a performance contract, right?
right.
So eventually that contract had to phase out, and that's totally, I think, on WWE to uphold, excuse me, that
Hmm.
contract, you know what I mean, as a performer until it subsides, then re-sign them just purely on the agent contract. And I hope, at least I'm hoping for our truth. I would hope that they would do a Legends contract with him, and B, definitely keep him on as a agent, some type of coach. We see these shows. They got the LFG show going on where we see like Taker on there. We saw Bubba Dudley on there. Um, what's her name?
Mickey
Damn, I
James.
can't think of her name. Mickey James. Mickey James. You saw her on there as
Hmm.
well. So I'm hoping we can maybe see truth in this kind of capacity where us as fans will get to see another side of him, at least as younger fans for sure, because guys that have been watching wrestling for a long time, guys and gals, excuse me, don't want to, exclude the women, but guys and gals that have been watching wrestling for quite some time, they know about our truth, aka Ron Killing's other stints in other federations. Like when he was in NWA, he had a stint in TNA where he went on a nice little run, man, and he was champion. He got a championship run there as the world heavyweight champion, and you really got to see the other facet of him outside of the comedic, genius that he has in timing. So I think it would behoove WWE, TKO Group, etc., to keep him nice and neat and satisfied with a nice contract to just phase out the in-ring career and enter into this era if that's what he wants, because who knows, he might very well go and re-sign with TNA or go and sign with AEW. That's left to be seen. But I think WWE should definitely try to keep him put and just try to see if he would like to stay there, maybe even in the commentary side of things. I would like to see R-Truth on commentary. I think he would be both comedic and actually show another side of himself to kind of show his wrestling prowess and have the people see how multifaceted he is. The guy makes music, and some of this music, man, it's decent. It's not bad music. So
Can we put him on the
as Joe
track?
was, it's not Trick Willie, it's not Trilly Willie.
I was
Trick
about to
Willie,
say, can we put him in a booth to end Trick Williams' rap aspirations? Like,
you know. But so I would like to see more to come. Hopefully, with Truth. It's same with Miz. I always thought Miz was going to end up being a WWE lifer. Hopefully, they're going to put him in the same capacity. Although I do think Miz maybe has a little bit longer in ring if he chooses to, because he's not as old as a Truth. So we may see him end up somewhere else. Which would be different because we never saw him anywhere other than WWE. So to see
mhm.
him maybe pop up in AEW, to see him maybe pop up, New Japan, TNA, something like that, that is very much a possibility. So we just got to wait and see. Plus, he's a guy that they utilized. They made movies with him. They had shows with him. And, outside of his character of The Miz, the dude is a very likable guy. So it's like you see why WWE have utilized him in these other areas, of entertainment when they're doing stuff like that. So he's
Did,
somebody I hope that they re-sign him too. I don't know if he wants to be a coach and transition to that, transition to just commentary and give up the in ring. But we'll see.
Yeah, once again, the time is a little off with that too. Wasn't he just announced as the host of American Gladiators?
You see, and that's what I'm saying. Like the guy is out here, like being
Mm,
visible, and
yeah.
and especially he was just out there more so. I'll bring it back to SmackDown. He wasn't wrestling, but he was out there. He was kind of being like
A
Carmelo
manager.
Hayes. He was being his manager. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Which he was actually doing all right as. Like at first, I didn't really get the pairing, but it was kind of like a brother love kind of thing. Brother Love and Undertaker. It's that brother love
Hmm.
and Shawn Michaels or something. But
Hmm.
we just gotta wait and see, man. But I definitely do wish all of those people the best of luck. You know what I mean? They'll land where they need to land, and it's just one door closing, possibly, and another door or will open. Just like with us regular people, we may leave one job for another opportunity, and we may leave that job for another opportunity. So
Right.
it happens. It happens. What I don't like before we move on from it is kind of like the tribalism aspect of these things that takes place um, when these companies do things that we don't like as fans. They release people, or they do a storyline or a story angle, or some person wins that we don't care for it. And it's like, I don't know if you've been seeing this, but this has been a hot topic. A lot of people have been saying TKO was killing WWE.
I've seen some of those posts. I can't necessarily co-sign it because it's probably been the most interesting WWE's been in a while for both brands, at least on the quote unquote main roster. Because for years Raw was like pulling teeth,
Yes.
and now it doesn't feel like. And you watch SmackDown, I don't feel like I'm watching a 3 hour show. Yeah, I know what commercials, but I'm saying it was always two and a half, whatever. I don't feel like I'm
Mm-hmm.
watching a 2.5 hour show at all. Like I don't remember a bad episode of SmackDown.
Right.
And then they're also fluctuating to keep people on their toes. Yeah, there might be sometimes you see the same wrestlers close 2 weeks. That's another thing. I don't think that happens that often. Even when Cody was the face of, they kept calling him the quarterback and stuff. I don't think Cody was always like a lot of the times. Yeah, it was Cody, but you don't necessarily see the same people closing out an episode of SmackDown every week
Right. Right.
because Raw kind of had that formulaic schedule in place where yeah, I think like you kind of had a straight yeah, this is happening, that's happening. Even during Roman's run, we saw Roman. I mean, maybe granted, though, he's a big box office draw, obviously. For the most part, you know where they're going to place Roman at. But then they start switching it
Yeah.
up too. And during his last run that he's had, he wasn't always in the last seconds.
Right. Right.
And it's compelling storylines. Period. Just the way the storytelling is being told. The promos and everything. And I don't know. I never feel like I'm. Now there's sometimes granted, I'll keep myself. I might slide out, so I got that record button. But still, when I come back and watch it, a lot of time just flies by watching
Into
SmackDown.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and same with
I
Raw and Netflix. Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm so glad they got away from 3 hours because it wasn't compelling television.
yeah, no.
And as fans,
But
I think. Oh, well, you finish. I'll let you finish if you want
no,
to
I
finish.
was
Yeah.
about to say I was just gonna say, but they do have the talent where they could pull it now. But I find that they don't have a set amount of time right now on Netflix in terms of when that broadcast starts and ends. There's some weeks I think it's a little bit over 2 hours, 2:15. There are some weeks where it's I think a little bit under 2 hours or around 2 hours exactly. So
Hmm. And it's like everything's story driven. Everything kind of
yeah,
like goes and flows into the next either show, which would be SmackDown, or we'll pick right back up on it next week on the following Raw. And it's just kind of like, all right, I'm good with this little, this groove we're in. Like
all right,
people couldn't wait for Triple H to get into the quote unquote big chair, right? And I think this is the part that fans we forget this. Like, yo, this is still a business at the end of the day. They still
hmm
get billions of dollars from these companies, and they have to account for that, and they have to appease these companies to a degree. And that means if this company wants a Logan Paul pushed, guess what? Sorry to break it to y'all. The WWE is no longer owned by one person anymore. They're owned by TKO. So if TKO wants to push Logan Paul, because Logan Paul has a gazillion followers and plenty of appeal, and he has his Prime brand, that's flourishing and making money for everybody, and it's being so much so it's on display throughout the whole episode, and even on the mat sometimes. Guess what? He's going to be put in prominent positions. Now, the thing with him, like him or hate him, Logan Paul has been pretty solid since he stepped into the ring. Like,
Yeah.
You just have to give him the credit. You see the work being done there. It's not like, what was the guy's name that came over that faced Brock Lesnar for that one match? He came over from MMA. He beat Brock Lesnar in
UFC. Cain Velasquez.
Cain Velasquez. And,
that was awful.
It was god awful. We didn't see him again. Like, WWE immediately released him after that. You know what I'm saying? Because it just wasn't a good pairing. It wasn't a good mixture from UFC to the WWE. You know what I mean? So they quietly let that go, and we haven't seen that since. That's not the case with Logan Paul. Logan Paul is doing the work. He's a solid hand in the ring. And he could be talking jive or he could be telling the truth. He cuts a good promo too. And he said, yo, the boys in the back, they respect me. They treat me like one of the boys. And that is because he puts the work in. It shows. He couldn't be able to have a match with Roman Reigns and it be entertaining.
Right.
Doing the work. Now, you're only as good as your dance partner. I get that. So Roman being the seasoned vet he is at this point, or when he fought Cody, who's a seasoned vet also, like you put him in place where he's in a position to succeed, but he still has to carry his own piece of weight in that equation,
Well, to piggyback off that too, is also along the lines of if people are going to have complaints, then you got to have a solution. Because maybe there are some other people who kind of deserve a push, but you're not going to push them in that heel capacity because they're either not ready for it or they're best baby faces. Also, people forget the gaping hole. No cause. People forget that KO's gone.
Yeah.
And Orton, he's done all he needs to do in the business. If he wanted to, I'm sure he could push that bug and I kind of want another legit push.
Right.
I mean, as much as Drew was killing it last year, he's on SmackDown right now, so Logan's on Raw, so you can't say Drew is a solution.
Right.
Maybe someone like a Finn, who's to say that won't ever happen? I personally think it's going to have to happen as a babyface. But that's just my opinion. I don't ever see him getting, unless you go back to NXT or maybe on SmackDown. I don't see it on Raw right now.
Finn as a babyface?
No, Finn getting that push as a heel that Logan's getting.
Oh, yeah.
He got to be a babyface. Not that he can't do it as a heel. We're going to put better people around him, though. You can't take Finn seriously as an upper mid card / main eventer with the people he has around him right now. Sorry, no offense, but I don't think you can.
Completely agree. All right.
Because Finn's not because he's not a physically imposing guy, obviously. I'll piggyback off that. And then his counterpart, his tag team partner, JD McDonough, is smaller than him. Dom is gonna he's gonna do his own thing down the line. You know that. But
hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just one of those things where you gotta have a solution, and I don't really see one right now. I mean, it's not even in the Money in the Bank briefcase match, so I mean, I think people just need to chill out and let people. It's obviously doing something for the ratings. Like I said, he's putting the work in. He's not disrespecting the craft, so I can't complain about it.
Right, and that's all me as somebody who kind of like not necessarily championed the guy, but like I wasn't mad at him being a part of professional wrestling. And I'm not just saying it because he liked a couple of our posts. Hey, shout out to Logan. Hey, but I was sitting there and I was just paying attention to him actually studying the craft and the boys in the back actually having his respect. Like a lot of them appear on his show. Now I know part of that is business, but you listen to these episodes and it's like he has camaraderie with a lot of people. And that just tells me that okay, they respect him. They respect him being a part of their business, being a part of their locker room, and he's putting in the work to gain their respect. So,
Right.
some of these guys, it took them, years and years to get to where it only took him, a short stint because of his celebrity outside of WWE. But him saying, "Hey, I'm going to sign this contract and I'm gonna dedicate myself to it enough that I'm going to try to shine and fit in with these guys and girls, as much as possible."
Right.
And that deserves some kudos.
No, for sure.
So let me see. I got something I just want to put really quickly on the heated round table so we can discuss because we didn't mention him, but we are talking about his partner at Money in the Bank. So got this one question I want to ask you.
Ooh, the round table's getting heated. Heated round table.
So here's the question. Are you buying John Cena as a heel, and are you buying into his heel run as champion?
I'm buying into him as a heel for sure. It's too early to say if I'm buying into his title run because he's only had one title defense and one feud. It was one that needed to happen. I'm
Mhm.
definitely buying into it though because it's gonna take a little while, but I think he's fully committed to it. I don't think he's trying at any point to appeal to the fans. That's the problem I think some heels get. At times they still try to want to be cool, like what they're doing with Seth. He's still encouraging people to sing his song and stuff like that. I might have gone back to the old when he had, when he was with the Authority. If you want to
Mhm.
commit to this heel turn, but with that being said, yeah, I think I am. He's cutting great promos. He's saying all the things he needs to say to not make himself likable anymore at any point. Because some of these people, it sounds like they're not trying to be vicious enough. I think he probably still at times can be, but yeah, he was cutting some very heelish promos towards Cody and Orton. So I think he's all in it, and I'm fine with it. Like I said, I don't expect any more 5-star matches out of Cena in the first place. So let's be honest. He's been
Mhm.
too long removed from full time in ring for that to be really expected. And not to say it won't happen again, but I'm just not really you really should be expecting out of this run in the first place.
So this title run here, this character change, do you kind of feel like this was like, hey, they say, hey, you know what? This guy's dedicated himself to both WWE for X amount of years and dedicated himself to professional wrestling to the fans, whatever. And he deserves this. He wanted this, so we're giving him this opportunity to go out on his sword the way he wants um, to be able to actually finally have a heel turn in his career because he definitely got pigeonholed and was held in that space as a babyface, since he turned from the last time he was a heel, which
Right.
was, the ruthless aggression era. Like he spearheaded the PG era into the modern day era. And, the guy never got an opportunity. He teased it with that Bray WrestleMania match when he had the NWO shirt on for that little, during that part,
hmm
you know.
What they were even teasing it during that the storyline with him, Kane, Zack Ryder, and E Torres too.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I think that's when they were about to flip them, and then they came out with all that new merch and all that stuff. I think that's what it was. And once
Didn't he
again, you
have
gotta,
a black shirt at that time too, though?
yeah, he did.
And I think
I forgot
everybody,
what it said too. It was like rise above hate or something.
yeah, they played us, man, because they gave us the all black Cena shirt, and he was Mr.
Yeah,
Colorful. Everything was about color.
yeah. I think those around the time they were supposed to turn because that was around 2012. It was towards the beginning of 2012 because Kane had just came back at the Slammy Awards. I remember it was like
Mhm.
right after Ziggler had returned his briefcase when he put on the line at TLC against Cena, and it was around that time. Yeah, I think Kane had came back around late 20. No, that was before that because Kane came back. It was around that time, though. Give or take. Maybe I might be wrong about the Ziggler briefcase thing, But I do remember Kane came back and targeted Cena, and that's when they kind of got into that because he was fighting Mark Henry on the Slammies or something like that. So
Man, I gotta check that out now. When you say he cashed in the briefcase, okay, on
no, no,
Del Rio.
no, no, no. He put his briefcase on the line, and that's when AJ Lee had turned heel.
Oh yeah. That's
But
right.
I
That's
can't
right.
remember if Kane came back before that or right around because I remember Ziggler cashed in a night after WrestleMania 29. But I think that couldn't have but that couldn't have been the case. So that had to be the late. That had to be the end of 2011 or 2012, one of the two. I can't remember exactly the time frame, but because I remember Cena wasn't on. Why isn't Cena on the card? Ha! Remember that?
Right.
Because I remember the main event of 2011 was Del Rio, Punk, and Miz in the triple threat for the WWE Championship. Cena was not on that card for 2011 TLC. He did face Ziggler in the main event of 2012 TLC. So I think maybe Kane did come back around that time at Slammies. But I could be off with the timing though, because I remember for sure Zack Ryder and all that was involved in that story. I just can't remember who it was. So it had to be the winner of 2012 then I guess slash 2013.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. For me, there are some pieces missing, and who's to say that he won't do this toward the end of it? You know, we're still only a month into this championship run, only what 2 months into him being a heel, like truthfully, since Elimination Chamber. Um, I think had he went and changed the actual ring gear, it would have helped. Um, because for some weird reason, you got fans that are cheering him right now, and it's like
Yeah,
he's a heel, guys. Like he's doing everything he can to disrespect you, and here you all are cheering him.
yeah, I
You
don't
know,
think. Yeah, for sure.
so for me, I don't know. He doesn't need a mouthpiece, so you don't need anybody to speak for him in that capacity or regard. But I was wondering that I was like, what if they maybe put Paul Heyman next to him after the whole turn, or you had him kind of involve himself in that triple threat if he didn't go with Seth, right?
Yeah,
And he just calls whoever, and whoever won is whoever he gave a nod to. But I just been kind of thinking, just spitballing what could be done for fans for him to like get heat. Like, what does he need to do to like generate the real deal heat? I'm talking Hollywood Hogan heat. You know what I mean? Where they're throwing trash into the ring at the end of Nitro. Like, is Cena even capable of that in 2025?
it all depends who you put him up against, I suppose. But now I think fans are just trying to cheer him just to troll at this point because it's like, oh no, he gave us what we wanted, but it's too late after the fact. So now we are going to cheer him, type thing.
Right.
He was getting cheered prior to that anyway, though during every appearance he made. So I think it's like after the first few weeks of this fell flat because whatever, if he really is leaving now, I guess it's like, what's the point of booing him now? That's another thing.
Yeah.
So could be that
And
factor too.
so yeah, so I was just thinking, I'm like, do I buy into it? I think the way a lot of fans look at it, and I kind of look at it this way too. Cena's playing his greatest hits. You know what I'm saying? He finally got the opportunity to be heel, so he's riding out as a heel.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of people are just kind of showing their respect. They're glad to see him because he's only doing select dates, even though it seems like he's on there every week or every other week. But I
Maybe
just
would have helped if they
I
didn't announce this as last year too. Could have helped if they had flat out turned him and they didn't announce this quote unquote farewell tour. Because I think that's probably
yeah.
what it is.
And then it's just kind of like we still haven't gotten the explanation on the whole sell your soul thing. Like Rock hasn't been on television since, so we don't know what's going on with that. And we thought that was going to be the whole unholy alliance thing. And I just think it's a couple of little things here and there that they could probably do that they maybe will do eventually. They just
Right.
haven't done it yet. That could kind of help in terms of the whole heel and receiving heat from the fans as opposed to being cheered.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I'm glad he finally got to do his heel run, and I just want to see more importance put around it, you know, and maybe some. I'm not, like you said, I'm with you. I'm not expecting any 5-star matches, but some solid, going out of here, getting out of here matches.
Hmm.
That's why I was kind of surprised they set it off with Orton. But while it wasn't a bad idea 2-star with Orton, because you're revisiting a feud that he had several times over throughout the years, and those
Hmm.
guys counterparts, and they vets. They kind of like the last gunman of the era that's still around. All right. So with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and make our picks on. We're gonna start. Matter of fact, we'll leave Money in the Bank for last. Let's run through the card for Worlds Collide. So both of these are happening on June 7th. I'm right there, KG. It's June
Yeah,
7th, Saturday.
this Saturday. Yeah.
All right. So WWE is teaming up with AAA to present their newly acquired, TKO's newly acquired AAA. They're teaming up with them to give us this year's version of Worlds Collide. All right. So we are going to go and look at the card. Myself and KG, we've already said, before we hit the record button, hey, we don't know a lot of these people. We know some of these people. I know I've seen some of these people from AAA on AEW. So this is unfortunately, some of the only times I saw them was on AEW. So I'm not, I don't have a vast knowledge of all of these people, but we're gonna go ahead and give y'all the matches, and we're gonna try to make some predictions of who we think will win just based off of that. All right. So KG, the first match for Worlds Collide: Legado del Fantasma versus El Hijo de Wagner Jr., Pagano, and Psycho Clown.
I'll pick the latter team only because it feels like they want to split Legato up based on a lot of the interactions they've been doing lately on SmackDown. They did show a little bit of solidarity last week prior to that match that was on, I think, against Ray Phoenix and Javon Evans. But yeah, no, I think I got a Legato losing.
I'm there with you. That's a great point, and that's probably exactly why they'll lose. I will say this too to add to that. Please push Santos Escobar. Please push Angel Garza, and please push Humberto Carrillo. All right, those guys. I know I may have butchered his name, but bear with me. Those guys are all solid hands. They all need shots. Like Angel Garza was hot as fish grease in NXT during that cruiserweight title run. Him and Leo Rush going back and forth with that, man. That was
No, for
that was
sure.
money. So yeah, I'm gonna go with KG in that latter team. El Helio del Vikingo and Chad Gable. El Helio del Vikingo versus Chad Gable.
I'll go Io, David Kingo, because they're still teasing that Chad can't beat luchadors, and he's not a El Grande Americano. So I'm gonna have to go Io, David
Okay.
Kingo.
All right. I am going to, just for shits and giggles, I'm going to go with Chad Gable. Maybe there's a spot in the match where he goes under the ring, comes back out with the
Yeah,
mask
something, some
on, and
wild, and then he comes back. I didn't think about that. That's
some
true.
wacky.
Yeah, so
So
they
I'm gonna
can't
go
say
with
this.
that.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Let's see. Ethan Page versus Javon Evans versus Laredo Kid versus Ray Phoenix.
If they didn't just put the title on Ethan Page, I would put probably just I would say with Javon Evans. I don't know if he's ever had a title run yet down there, but I think they just put the title on. I mean, I'm saying you can't do a switch because Ethan Page might be due for a call up. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go with Javon Evans
Definitely.
because I think Ethan Page might be due for a call up. Actually, I think they were teasing it last week on SmackDown. They had him quote unquote scouting. He is the two of his three opponents. So
Yeah.
I'll go with Javon Evans actually.
Okay. Okay. With that being said, I definitely kind of want to pick Javon as well. But what if they use this as a chance for Ray Phoenix to get the North American Championship, and he does double duty on NXT and on SmackDown? That's
Definitely bring more
interesting.
eyes. Yeah, definitely bring more eyes on the product. It's I was definitely considering that too. I just only know if they don't want to overextend him so much. I think they might want to do a slow build and keep him
Mm-hmm.
relevant, but it would bring more eyes to potentially on NXT though, because they're on two different networks. So you get a little bit of cross promotion in terms of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think they might want to be pushing. They might be wanting to set up, some of these younger talents that's not quite ready for Raw, SmackDown, and there's only so much longer they could keep so many talents down there
Yeah.
without utilizing. That's my thought process. I could definitely see Ray winning though because it wouldn't be a bad idea at all. So
Yeah, the only reason I'm hesitant to say Javon is because I think they're doing a slow build with Javon. Javon's obviously a important fixture in character in their plans going forward because you do got a lot of guys like we said. Ethan Page is due for a call up, but you got guys like Wesley who are definitely due for a call up. You got guys like Ethan due for a call up. Sean Spears, people that
yeah,
are main event ready, that's down there right now. Ricky Saints, excuse me, just got there. But again, this is somebody that can definitely transition to Raw, SmackDown, sooner rather than later, or be NXT champion sooner rather than later. So while Javon or EC can EP can retain, but for this, I'm gonna say Ray Phoenix. I'm gonna say Ray Phoenix. I'm gonna have some fun. I'm gonna say Ray Phoenix. Let's see. Stephanie Vacura and Lola Vice versus Sheik Tormenta and Dallas.
I'll
I
go
think that's how you
Stephanie
say her
and
name.
Lola because some people do win their swan song matches. You don't have to necessarily lose, but I don't think she's taking a pin or a loss for sure if they don't win. But I'll go with Stephanie McCure and Lola Vice.
Okay, I'm there with you. I do believe we saw these ladies on AEW when AEW was having that little cross promotion with them, and they were coming on television. I'm just not 100% sure. So, people that's watching, please don't kill me. People that's listening, please don't kill me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm gonna go with Stephanie Vacura and Lola Vice. All right. Last but certainly not least, the Latino World Order, Dragon Lee and Cruz del Toro versus Lynch Dorado, Octagon Jr., Aerostar, and Mr. Iguana. So this is a six-man tag team match.
uh, with the way they've been trying to make Dragon Lee before they signed the Lucha Brothers, I think they want to keep him relevant. So I'll go LWO because I think it's like one of those things where he's gonna be a fixture, obviously. And Mr. Dorado, I remember he was with them before. I forgot who he's with in the stable when he used to be with WWE before he got released. But yeah, I'll go with the LWO.
Okay. I'm there with you. I'm gonna go with LWO. Dragon Lee, another person. I've been seeing them cross promote. He's been on NXT again and SmackDown. So I could definitely see him possibly, uh, you know, being a fixture that they, a person that they want to continue to push. So yeah, though, that's June 7th, Worlds Collide. Y'all check that out. Nice set of matches. Got 5 matches. Nice, nice and neat treat. You know what I'm saying? Kind of in the same vein as the Saturday Night Live main events. Like we're not getting these 12 matches like AEW land, and that's a semi shot. That's not a whole shot, but it's a semi one. All right. So from there, man, we are going to end out this episode during our Money in the Bank 2025 picks. That is also this Saturday. So you guys tune in, Peacock, and enjoy some Money in the Bank matches. So KG, I'm going to leave the Money in the Bank matches for last. We are going to do the secondary matches we have for the event, and we're going to start with the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch.
I'll take Becky because it's one of those things that almost becomes Cody and Seth effect. Even though Cody did win all three of those matches in succession, I do think they want to keep Becky relevant. And if if she loses, then where do you go? I mean, I guess you can go Liv as the next opponent, but then it's like, and then you really build on Lyra about her way too high. Then, not that she hasn't earned it. I just don't know where you go after Becky. That's my whole thing. So that's why I picked Becky.
Okay, okay. Big time Bex, man. I'm with you there. Lyra, I think, has done well. She is a good hand in the ring. I think she's improved with her mic skills and cutting promos. But I don't know, KG. You tell me if I'm off here. It seemed like she just isn't clicking still with the fans. Like the fans haven't
No,
gotten behind her just yet.
I'll co-sign it. They do the little woos with everything with their thing, but I hinted at this earlier, briefly went over it. They were still doing the what chance, and she's been cutting some good promos. They did it to her literally 2 days ago, or 2 nights ago. So it's not no knock on her, but it's just I just don't know where you go after Becky if that's the case because the way they were pushing Liv, you don't want to go to Liv unless you want Liv to be a double champion. That's the only other option you really have at this point right now because they're not really utilizing Raquel as a single star, especially after last week she just lost um, to Kyrie. So the only other option you would have is be Roxanne Perez, I guess. But I don't really think they have a lot of options outside of Becky right now because they're kind of got Roxanne and Liv doing their thing. So
Yeah, yeah. They got to put that nucleus together of who they want to kind of be like the women that are, competitors for the IC title. They
yeah,
got that kind of going on. They got that going actually pretty good on SmackDown. Like Jacob Fatu with the people, the crop of talent that they have around him as potential opponents.
yeah.
And what's home girl name? The US champion.
Zelina Vega.
Zelina Vega, same deal with her. They got a nice crop of ladies around her that are like, potential opponents, that'll be entertaining matches.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's not that they started too high for Lyra either because she's had the title for a good amount of time. I forgot when they
mhm.
officially crowned her, but I remember it was in an episode of Raw. But yeah, so not one of those things where people have to have a set a long amount of time, allotted time with a championship either. So because she definitely had it before WrestleMania, so she's had it at least 3 months. So
Matter of fact, she did because she wanted. She was in that tournament with Dakota Kai, and you know
hmm
what? I think fans are kind of holding that against her too, and that's totally not her call. Like they
there might
didn't
be
put the belt
some,
on Dakota.
yeah.
Yeah, the upper management didn't put the belt on Dakota. That
Yeah.
wasn't a Lyra call. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's a little bit of blowback from that as well. But I do think we'll see Becky Lynch win this match. I do hope she kind of joins Seth's stable, and they do it right this time. They don't necessarily do that god awful like promo they were doing when they had them as faces.
Yeah,
You know,
nah,
act,
for sure.
acting like they were together but not together.
Yeah.
Okay, that leads us to this tag team match: Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso versus John Cena and Logan Paul.
Cody and Jay, I'll have. I know you didn't ask all this, but obviously I think Logan takes the pinfall. I don't know. I guess have Jay pin him again because they really protected Cody. Obviously, I think only less than 5 people have pinned him, give or take, since he's been back.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's just Cena. I don't think Cena's like, even though they're trying to make him look more humanized than the normal heel, they haven't really been building up as a super heel. You always used to say Super Cena.
Mm-hmm.
I think you don't want Jay on the losing end because Jay actually still has another title match lined up. Cena doesn't right now. So and Jay has a title match lined up in 5 days against Gunther. So I don't think you really want him on the losing end, even if he doesn't take the pinfall loss. It might even enter the DQ as far as you know. I don't know. It's gonna be some type of foolishness going on though. But I'm taking Jay and Cody.
I actually got Cena and Paul winning this,
I
man.
could
I
see
do think
that.
I think it's gonna be some chicanery there, but this is why I'm picking them. I think because you remember at the end of Saturday night main event, Cena was attacking Jey Uso.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're gonna get an angle there, and I don't know if Cena's gonna become a double champion, but I definitely think he's gonna go and try to challenge Jey Uso for his championship. I do
I could
think they're
see
gonna
that.
get ready to
Yeah,
do that. So
I could see
this is
that for sure.
I think this is the beginning of that story arc, which again it's just kind of like, all right, well, why did we separate the championships to begin with? if they do that. If they put
Yeah.
both titles, it's like, okay, you could have just had Cody get both titles and just held both up until this WrestleMania, however they want to do it, and you just went from there. Um, when they split it up with when Roman was double champion, but I do think that may be a match taking place. Now, when it'll take place, I don't know, but I'm just kind of doing a hot take here, and I do think that's where we're headed. I don't know if that happens at SummerSlam. I don't know if that happens at all, but this is just kind of a prediction I'm making, and I'm thinking we're going to see Cena try to challenge Jay for that title.
You can go that route, but then you could also have whoever wins the briefcase cash in a triple threat, so that way you still keep the title separated.
That's true. That's true. All right. Let's start with the ladies. We'll end with the men. So, women's Money in the Bank: Alexa Bliss versus Roxanne Perez versus Rhea Ripley versus Julia versus Naomi versus Stephanie Vaquer.
I am torn, but I'm gonna go Naomi. I think it's time, but if it's not her, I'm thinking Roxanne. But I'm gonna say Naomi.
I'm there with you. Naomi's transformed herself. How she's appearing, her appearance, and she's obviously a heel. She's showing a different facet of herself, a different side of her. She's been babyface Naomi forever, and even when she was a heel, she wasn't like this type of heel.
Right, she
And
did that little thing with Sasha and Tamina. Yeah.
mhm. So I'm liking what I'm saying, and I think that type of heel, you definitely kind of do long term booking with that, and you give them the briefcase, because all of these other women, Alexa's been champion, Rhea's been champion, Julia was NXT champion already, Stephanie Vaquer was is NXT champion, no, was NXT
She
champion.
was. Yeah.
So all of them have touched championship gold already, and they're interchangeable at this point. They can get a championship match without a briefcase. The only
Right.
person here that needs that briefcase is Naomi. So, God forbid any injuries happen during that match, because that is one of those matches where it's high risk. You know what I mean? Um, I do have my money on her securing the briefcase, and at the end of the match, I do think it's her. All right. And last but certainly not least is the men's Money in the Bank briefcase match. Solo Sokola versus LA Knight versus Penta versus Seth Rollins versus Andrade versus El Grande Americano, who's pulling double duty this weekend.
Sometimes going with the obvious is just the choice you have to go with. Because if not Seth, then who? You're not gonna put it on. The only way I can see them putting it on Solo is if that's how you do the turn where where he cashes in on Jacob Fatu. Because although they've made an emphasis you can cash in on the champion now. We only seen Austin Theory attempt to do that because he used to be a
Hmm.
world champion. Saw him do that in 2019, I believe, or whenever that was.
Yeah.
No, that was 2021. It was after the pandemic. My fault. Or 2022, one of the two. It was after the pandemic. I know that because um, I'm gonna say it was. I can't remember which year, but I know he was the only one that ever tried it. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Seth. I can't. I don't see a justification putting on anybody else outside of Seth or Solo. Like some people, I mean, we've seen Big E before. Everybody that cashes in doesn't necessarily mean they're turning heel.
Hmm.
So if you go that route, then I would say L.A. Knight possibly, but um, yeah, I think it just. And granted, there's no guarantee Seth is because at some point Punk's gonna get some get back. So that's the only thing that's keeping me from flat out committing to Seth because Punk's gonna get his revenge at some point
Yeah.
type thing.
Yeah.
But like I said, I just don't. Like I said, maybe Solo. I don't know. Unless you turn somebody, I just don't know who you put it on. And there's no guarantee the person that wins it has to cash in successfully. That's another thing we got to point out as a caveat because especially with the men, the women, anybody who's cashed in is always one, but the men, there's been a handful of people that didn't cash in successfully. So, um, yeah, I guess I gotta stick with Seth. I guess.
I'll say this: if you're picking Seth, I think the storyline is Cena versus Jey Uso at SummerSlam, right?
Hmm.
For the title for title. If Seth is the Money in the Bank winner, Seth cashes in at SummerSlam.
You know what I'm saying? Cashing on Jay or something like that, where it's
Yeah,
like, and then the match is over type thing. There is no
mhm.
quote unquote unified champion. Yeah.
Yeah, I can totally see that being that scenario if it happens that way. So I see the yeah, I see why you went that with that particular choice. Just to be, again, for my shits and giggles.
No, for sure.
But I actually really want this guy to win, and I have a dark horse pick here too. I really want LA Knight to win the Money in the Bank briefcase. I think this would be the prime time to do that with him. Mr. Money in the Bank, LA Knight. It prints money, dude. It's
No, it
just,
does.
you know what I'm saying? And he's one of those characters right now, one of those guys that's very, likable. The fans like him. And he looks like a champion, walks like a champion. The briefcase only, secures. It's only a matter of time. You know what I mean? But my dark horse, what if they make Penta Mr. Money in the Bank?
I was thinking Pence too as a dark horse because they definitely protected him, and he's only all of his losses via pinfall have either been tag team or outside interference thus far.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not mad. I don't think there's like any pick where you just look at him like you can't see that at all. Some of the women in the match, I don't see it at all, type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the one I see don't see it all with the men is El Grande Americano. If they put him in as Chad Gable, I could potentially see it because we've been saying he's due for a push.
Definitely.
But I'm not opposed to them to seeing Penta get it either. It's just the way they normally cash in. I think there's only been two or three guys that have ever let that person know ahead of time they were cashing in. RVD did it in 2006 at One Night Stand. Cena did it 2012 against Punk on Monday Night Raw, and then I think Braun Strowman did it inside Hell in a Cell. It's like it was a prearranged match. So you don't have to go the hero route. If you go the hero route, I could definitely see them. If they go the hero route though, too about the cash in, I could see them definitely doing that with LA Knight though, because he's over enough where he already has the fans' respect. But yeah,
And
I'm
it's
not
been in
mad at that pick.
championship matches and got that close to winning. You know what
Right,
I'm saying?
sure.
So he would be a solid pick. I mean, if you don't go Seth, totally LA Knight. And not that ain't a knock at Andrade either. But I just because he's been very solid since his return. You know what I mean? And a case could be made for him to, possibly get the briefcase.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
for me, I just when it comes to the briefcase, it's always about people who actually need it. Versus people that like Seth can have a championship match whenever. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
He could have a championship match on the speed.
We just saw it on Raw.
Yeah, so he doesn't necessarily need it, but it could be a callback, excuse me, to when he was when he got the briefcase before. So
Yeah.
it's definitely not one of those things where you like you don't want to totally disregard it. But yeah, for my pick, I'm gonna pick LA Knight. All right, and there you have it, people. That is Money in the Bank predictions. That is World Collide predictions. Anything else you want to touch on briefly, KG, before we get up out of here?
Uh, no, because I just didn't see all these official releases. So you definitely, although I might not look as enthusiastic, not enthusiastic about people getting released. If you can see the shock value in my face, I'm definitely shocked at some of those people you named, like Miz. That yeah, wow.
Yeah, damn near lifer WWE guy. Like, and correct me if I'm wrong here. Is his wife still signed to WWE?
I don't think so. Because if she is, it has to be under a Legends deal.
I was gonna say maybe a Legends
Because
contract at this
she
point.
hasn't appeared on television. I don't know when. It's been over a year for sure.
Yeah. Um, me only other thing we didn't really touch on. We could probably have another discussion about that next week. I need to see Bobby Lashley in the AEW heavyweight title picture sooner than later. Like, get it out of that briefcase for one. Let's get that god awful
Yeah,
briefcase out of here. That's run its course. Please get that out of here. But
nah, for
I
sure.
totally need to see Bobby Lashley in that title picture sooner than later. I definitely want to see Bobby Lashley versus Samoa Joe. Did they have a match in TNA?
I'm pretty sure they did. I'd be shocked if they didn't,
But yeah, I need to see that. I
because
need to see that.
Joe didn't go to NXT until like that second what crop of like indie people. I want to say like around 2013, 2014, give or take. Because he didn't pop up to after that. I think Joe debuted. I think during the KO and Sammy feud. I think Joe didn't pop up around to 2015. I think that's when Joe debuted actually. So they did definitely do some crossover time together in TNA for sure. But to answer your question, I don't got that definitive answer. I'm just sure they had to because they both were just fixtures in the main event. This wasn't one of those things with Punk only was there for like a cup of coffee. It's like Joe was
Right.
legit. Joe was legit there. I want to say 2015 was when he debuted on NXT because I remember he had came out. To, excuse me, to confront Kevin Owens, give or take.
Yeah, they had some matches in TNA. I just googled it again.
Okay.
2009 Bound for Glory and Slammiversary 2014. Yep.
I think the
So
problem is even though they're trying to push them as tweeners, the fans channel on the lyrics to their song. At the end of the day, they're still supposed to be heels. So I think that's the problem. Kind of got to clear out the riffraff of so many heels. You got to start building up more baby faces too if you want to put Lash. And not that I disagree with you. Oh, I really agree with you in terms of eventually seeing him in that position. It's probably just going to be a slow build because, like I said, I don't understand how they didn't get a definitive ending to the him and that swerve thing. They just went by the wayside. They literally had a pull apart brawl the last time we saw them interact on a major show too. Once again, one of those run-ins at a live event because AEW doesn't really do live
mhm.
events.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is on the biggest TV show, weekly programming show, and they didn't follow up about that, which is really weird. But yeah, you're gonna have to. That could be something down the line we see for sure. It's just they're gonna have to, they're gonna have to build up more baby faces too, though, for that to happen.
Right.
Because right now the scene's too crowded, in the main
Yeah.
event. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm definitely with you though. It's just
All
too
right.
the way he presented me has been too dominant to stay in the mid card / lower mid
Yeah.
card for that. Yeah,
Definitely. Definitely.
because it's not like they're
Um.
utilizing them in like the upper mid card. You definitely like when the Bucks were champions, you definitely saw Lucha Brothers versus Bucks or FTR versus Bucks in that upper mid card area. They're basically mid to lower mid card right now, so it's not like they even utilizing him in a higher point of the show either. So
Right. Right. All right. So there y'all have it, man. Let me go ahead and add this to the page. Follow us on TikTok at Hot Take Wrestling. Follow us on Instagram at Hot Take Wrestling. Follow us on the artist formerly known as Twitter, Wrestling Take. Twitch, which we had streamed on tonight, Hot Take Wrestling Podcast. And as always on YouTube, you can follow us at NMG TV. Alrighty. And yeah, man, this is Boulevard Ave. Oh shit. Ah, I'm tired. This is Hot Take Wrestling. I am your boy, Old Man Logan. Want to say love, live life. Okay. Make sure y'all know we the ones, not the twos. It's only for the brave hearted. And we'll catch y'all next Wednesday. Shout out to the wise man, and shout out to Willie Uso, aka Clean King in the back row, and shout out to Joe, even though Joe is being AEW pansy right now. So there y'all go. That's all I got. That's all I got.
all right,
Until
y'all.
next time,
Peace.
people. Peace.